This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Who's this person that you're flying from A to B and taking on your stress leave? I just assumed female. He said, no, it's a man. I'm gay. So it was just like, boom. He had an angry side to his personality, he called it. And so that just blew up because I'd found him out, or he decided to come out with it.
Welcome to She Wasn't Born Yesterday, the pod that fearlessly chats about all things affecting us ladies who are 40 plus fabulous.
Well, and the guys that want to know what we think.
Well, them too. I'm Janet Evans, advertising creative.
And I'm Jenni Woodhouse, semi-retired social worker.
In other words, you're busier than ever. We're J&J and we're super thrilled you're with us for She Wasn't Born Yesterday. Well, gorgeous. Today we're going to chat to two very, very fascinating guests. But just as a sort of a preempter, a guy called Mitch Brown, who's an AFL player.
AFL, I love AFL.
Do you?
I do.
I'm not really into it, but I admire the Brisbane Lions because I'm from Bris Vegas, and therefore I have, sort of an alliance there. But a guy called Mitch Brown came out as being bisexual only fairly recently. He was a West Coast Eagles player.
I love West Coast Eagles.
Do you?
I was born in Perth.
See, okay, that explains it. But part of what he was saying is that he was very, very happy to have the support of the women around him, like his partner, and a lot of the women around him knew. So I think that that's one thing, like, for someone to say, okay, this is who I am and this is my sexuality and I'm out and proud about that. You either support that person or you don't, I guess. But what happens if after many, many years of marriage and a couple of kids, you are absolutely blindsided by that?
Well, I can't even begin to imagine what the emotions that would twirl around in your head for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it's one thing to have that support and to know, but to be in a marriage and not to know.
And then to revisit all those years and wonder, was that true? Was that not true?
Yes.
Yeah.
So our beautiful guests today are, in fact, the gorgeous Donna, who is a 40-plus fabulous woman who was married to a guy for 27 years. And then one fairly memorable day, Donna, you discovered he was having sex with men. So we're going to chat to you about what the fallout from that was on you and your family and who supported you or maybe actually didn't through this very, very difficult and complex situation. And our second guest is the fabulous Karen, who's a counsellor and coach with an organisation called Not My Closet. Love that name. But Donna and Karen, thank you for your courage in chatting to us today and welcome to She Wasn't Born Yesterday.
Thank you so much for having us. It's actually a privilege to chat about it. It's great to be here.
Really? Wait until you finish this chat. You might change your mind. But Donna, we'd love to chat about this topic because it is very controversial, I feel, and very, very heartfelt and devastating for anyone who has been in this position. So tell us a bit about you, how you met your now ex-husband. Was it love at first sight?
Well, we met at church and it wasn't love at first sight. We're very sensible young Christian people and we got to know each other first. But even just thinking about that time makes me feel sick because he was a charmer. He was a naval officer, for goodness sake. He had good friends at church, was part of the inner circle, I would say. That's how I saw it anyway. Yeah, so of course he presented as a straight guy, a normal, likeable sort of person.
Yeah. But what drew you to him particularly?
We had similar ambitions in life when it came to the way we wanted to live our life going forward as a young Christian couple. He was interested in going into ministry. I was right behind that.
What was your marriage like, especially in the early days?
Well, if I try to remember what it was like as what I thought it was like, it was a little bit confusing and disappointing and awkward at the start. I mean, he was away a lot with the Navy, so we didn't have the same trajectory, I suppose, as other young couples might. Yeah, but now when I look back, I can see that there was a whole other thing going on that explains all of that. And I can't unthink that now. And it just feels like a huge scam. You know, I was just, our marriage was doomed from the start, and no wonder it was like that. Despite all of that, I was trying hard, and I thought he was too, to make things work and make things better. And, you know, I thought it would all grow as young love grows. And then, of course, given my faith, I was very determined that, you know, divorce is absolutely not in the picture. You stick with these things and you work really hard at it. And so, yeah, persisted. Usually it's all about you. You feel like you're the one at fault. You've got to work on yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they are quite happy to let you believe that, because that's where they're coming from.
Yeah. So what was it that you were feeling wasn't quite right, even at that time?
The enthusiasm with which you expect a new marriage to grow in the bedroom, if you want to get personal.
Yes,
but
we definitely
also,
want to get personal. That's,
okay.
That's what we're all about.
Also that emotional connectedness and closeness. Yeah. So there was sort of a slight disconnect there, which I put down to other things, you know, family of origin, personality type. Yeah, there's the fact that we weren't together all the time because he was away a lot, all that sort of stuff.
And did you have people around you that you could talk to, or was this was all going on in your head and with no one else to talk to?
Well, definitely other Navy wives. It's a pretty common thing, that disruption into your life of you're being separated a lot. It's a good informal support network amongst Navy wives, military wives.
So were you hearing back from them, yes, this is because he's in the Navy, this is because he's away a lot?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And when did you, and how did you find out that he was attracted to men and actually having sex with them?
That's right. And this is like jumping forward to the midlife crisis, you know, when he's 45. He had been going off for a lot of years, like much, much worse in his disconnect with the family. And physically taking himself off. This is after he'd left the Navy, but he had a job that still took him away a lot, and he did a lot of weekends away. But I had a totally other reason, a totally legit reason to look through some documents on his desk, and I found some travel documents, which we just left there in the in tray. But when I had a closer look at them, there was another name on the flights and hotel bookings.
Okay.
And I thought it was a female name because it was an Asian name. I didn't know. So I asked him, who's this person that you're flying from A to B and taking on your stress leave holidays with? Yeah.
Okay.
And is that when he fessed up?
Yeah. And then because I thought I just assumed female, he said, no, it's a man. I'm gay. So it was just like, boom. And I mean, he had an angry side to his personality, he called it. And so that just blew up. Yeah. Because I'd found him out, or he decided to come out with it.
Karen, do you think it's unusual, this scenario, to be married to a guy, to someone who's gay, and really not sort of see any telltale signs, or to just have a vibe and then all of a sudden it blows up? Would that be fairly typical?
Yeah, I wish it was unusual. It's all too common. I mean, I think the scenario of someone, you know, being married to someone who's secretly gay is not common, but I think when it's increasingly common, unfortunately, not that more people are doing it, but more people are coming out. So, you know, it's an increasing sort of like dilemma actually with this midlife and older women discovering these closeted men. And is it unusual? No, because I think as women particularly, we're really primed socially to try to adapt, to appease, to make sense of, to fit in, to do all the relational work. But there's there's often things that don't make much sense, but we do our own form, I think, of kind of like trying to just make the best of it. And particularly if it's a marriage of faith, there's a lot of, internal and external pressure there to kind of make the marriage work and just to keep trying and to keep believing and all of those things. So, I think there's a number of reasons why. So some women will have a sense of things. Sometimes there's really overtly clear things like big intimacy problems from the very beginning. And there's a lot of grief and sadness there. And the trauma really starts, at that moment, even if they're not aware of why. But unfortunately, they often internalize it as it must be me. I've gained some weight, or I'm not, sexy enough, or I'm not this enough, or whatever. So that's often how they make sense of it, instead of just going, hey, maybe he's gay. I mean, it's just not on the radar, right? It's not, you don't go into marriage going, yes, I'll love you forever, da, 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 da.
Unless
but
I
are you
find
gay?
out that
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. What about the other way around, Karen? Is it with men who find out all these years later that their wife is gay? Is that as common, do you think?
I don't think that it's as common. I do work with men going through this as well. And I think how women's sexuality does tend to, there is a little bit of research that would suggest that it's more common for women to kind of like have a growing sort of like some changes in their sexuality over time, much less common with men. So I think that the male experience is quite different, but there's still definitely similarities as well.
Yeah, something I'd love to know, like, can someone sort of become gay? It's like sort of maybe
question.
Start off a marriage where you're actually straight.
Heterosexual.
Yeah.
And then after 27 years of marriage, wake up one morning and think wait a
actually
second.
attracted to that guy next door.
Yeah.
That wasn't in my case because...
No, it was not in your case, Donna.
Yeah, I found out after the separation from his extended family, aunts and uncles. Oh, yeah, that was a problem when he was a teenager. His parents shut that down. Yeah, so my situation was more that repressed.
Right.
Trying to hide it, working really hard to keep a lid on it, hiding it. I mean, he was a preacher. He was preaching sexual purity to Christian uni students, Yeah, so... absolute compartmentalized life.
And do you think he genuinely tried to?
Absolutely. He was angry that I wasn't appreciative of the effort that he had been putting in. He said that he provided for us absolutely, kept his integrity professionally and to himself as well. So he sort of had these three compartments in his life that he felt that he was absolutely doing the right thing in each of those areas, because he didn't think he was letting his secret life impact.
Right.
But that's like, I don't know, naive, emotionally dumb.
Yes.
And what about STIs? That's the most shocking thing most of us straight spouses have to go through, is the GP saying, you need to get some testing done ASAP.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's confronting.
So,
oh my God.
After you found out, like, this absolute shock of the way he told you, I mean, that's pretty harsh. Wow. What did you decide to do next?
I didn't feel like I had any agency in that situation. His work had to jump in and sort things out because there was concerns about professional misconduct. And also it turns out he had a plan, which was continue this way until the youngest child was 18, which is going to be another 5 years. And then we would quietly divorce. He would quietly retire from his ministry job. And then we would go our separate ways. I had no idea about that plan. We were talking retirement that's empty nest stage of life in totally other terms. So that was a complete story that he was telling me before I found out. So then, funnily enough, the time it was about a year later is when the same-sex marriage became legal. And because I thought, well, divorce is neither here nor there, but then he did it. He did the divorce.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Not that he's in a partnership or anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's very easy for a partner to divorce someone, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even sign papers. They just got delivered to me, and then I got the certificate of divorce in the mail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like you graduated from something.
Like I'd graduated.
From your marriage.
That's right. So,
Right.
Karen, a question for you. Is the impact worse when there's been infidelity in a marriage with a same-sex partner than if there's infidelity with say, in Donna's case, with another woman.
Donna's case was with a man, right?
Yes, but if it was with a woman.
If it was with a woman.
Yes, would it have more impact because
yes,
his partner's a male?
Yes, I truly believe so. I think the key reason, in a nutshell, is if a partner has an affair with another woman and you're a woman, it doesn't erase the whole marriage. It's a betrayal from that point on, and you can still hold on to what you had and you grieve it. And I'm not for a moment saying that is easy. It's really, really difficult. However, when you discover that they've been having sex with men, even if they're not acting on it and it's the orientation and identity aspect, it underwrites the whole marriage. And so you do this sort of retrospective grief. And it's like, was any of it real? Like, were they stood there the wedding day and lied and didn't tell me this information that I needed to know and deserved to know so I could make an informed choice? So right back to the beginning, even to dating, you kind of just go, I was fooled. So it just takes it all away. It's deeply painful.
That makes a lot of sense. So Donna, you were saying you feel like you've been scammed.
Yeah. And the episode you did recently with Tracy Hall really resonated with me.
Yes, of course.
She was only with him for 18 months, right?
Yeah, she was.
But yeah, especially when I found out his childhood history from his aunts and uncles, it just completely, it blows your mind. It completely blows apart your whole life, and you're rewriting your story from the moment you met that person, because that intentional deception it's a totally different story, but you go into it with absolute faithfulness and openness of heart.
Yes.
And you are completely used. Your trust is abused. We use that term, abuse of trust, and it's a complete undermining. I mean, I've even felt over the years resonated with stories of like girls being kidnapped and held hostage for years to some old guy. I felt the same. I felt like, wow, what was going on in the bedroom? What was that? It just makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
Actually.
And so you feel like he was fooling you. Do you think he was fooling himself?
Oh, of course, because I mean, this was the 80s when we were in our early 20s, right? And we were in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. So it was a pretty bad scene for gay guys back then. And it absolutely, the choice to absolutely hide and push down any of that and create a whole new life, a whole new identity so that you can suppress that part of you. I'm not a psychologist, but it's a psychological phenomenon, surely. But then, of course, in my situation, I found out that it can't be suppressed. It becomes a second life, which is just like a lot of affairs and unfaithfulness, isn't it?
It is, but it's not just unfaithfulness. It's unfaithfulness and sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lies.
Yeah.
And lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's less chance of there being a future in a mixed orientation marriage, because midlife crisis is at a particular point at which the stress, that internal battle or stress, or that trying to hold that life together blows apart. It's a common phenomenon. I found out I was in a big club of middle-aged women who had been through the same situation. I only knew one before then, and that was a huge shock in our Christian school community, that one of our teachers came out as gay. But then I joined a club of many people worldwide called
Whether
Straight
you wanted
Spouses.
to or not.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Karen, you're a counsellor and coach, and you work with an organisation called Not Your Closet. But why do you call it Not Your Closet, and what do you actually do?
Okay, so I call it Not My Closet because the closet doesn't belong to the straight spouse, and it never did. It never should have. They should never have been in there. It wasn't their orientation to hide. And, you spoke before about suppression, and I think that there is a compartmentalization and suppression, and I have deep empathy for anybody who feels that they can't be their true self in terms of their sexual identity 100%. But to take someone else into that experience without asking, would you be into marrying a gay guy? Like, sorry, I'm not really into you, but, it could be not
Convenient.
asking. Yeah, it's just like, it's such a deep deception, the term that's often used is that secret sexual basement, And so the fact that it's not your closet, I think it just felt empowering to me when I came up with that term to just go, it's not my closet, get me out of here.
Yeah.
It's not there. It shouldn't have been theirs either, but that's their journey. And this is our journey, it's not my closet. And so that's the work that I do. And I do it because when I went through this, I couldn't find help from anybody who actually really understood the nuances and complexities that straight spouses experience. So, yeah, that's why I formed
So you
it.
went through it yourself, the same
Unfortunately,
exact
yes.
idea, yes.
Yeah.
Gee, wow.
And how long had you been married?
24 years.
Right.
5 children. So,
Wow. And so it was that midlife crisis scenario.
Yeah, pretty much.
Karen.
And that is actually not uncommon at all because of, we understand that, midlife people are starting to think about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And because they have been either suppressing or hiding, they kind of start to feel a bit like, well, I deserve to, live my true self now. Fair enough. But there's another person here who needs to be considered and have deep empathy for the partner's experience and not just to kind of gloss over that and kind of like march out of the closet with gay abandon and sort of just leave them in the dust and kind of like, well, you sort yourself out, right?
In the closet with the feather boas and the sequin ball gowns. Yeah.
And Donna was just saying a little while ago that it's very hard to keep a marriage going once a straight spouse finds out. In your experience, Karen, what kind of percentage would you say actually stay together?
Oh, gosh, I would say very low. I work with the most troubled cases. So, they're less likely to work. I have worked with people who have stayed together. I think it's a low percentage because nobody really wins. The only real winner here is sort of just like normalcy and, a continuation of like maybe lifestyle situations and not having to split finances, So there's practical reasons why people might want to try and stay together. But in most cases, the person who's been hiding deserves to live a full and rich life, and the partner deserves to live a life not having to keep someone else's secret and have such a suppressed experience of a relationship. Like, it's not great. Heads up.
No.
Yeah. Thanks for the heads up.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
We'll take that on
Wouldn't
board.
recommend it.
Good to know.
Donna, I'd love to know, like, you have kids and also you, Karen, what sort of effect did this have on them?
My kids didn't have a good relationship with their dad anyway, because he was that sort of distant from the family type person. He had that underlying anger and that came out. So we suffered quite a bit in our family from that. I was surprised because my youngest was 13 that would have to go through the, parental blah, 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 co-parenting situation, but they absolutely all were just done, absolutely done. They were very angry at him for the hypocrisy because of his job, preaching sexual purity to university students. And of course, the hypocrisy of realising what he had been doing when he's telling them to be good Christian kids. Yeah. And they were just angry at him for keeping us stuck in that bad marriage for no good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you tell other people around you, friends, family, what was going on at the time?
I did. I mean, at first he said we could continue with the plan and have our secret mixed orientation marriage till the youngest is finished school or 18. But I said, I don't think so. No. And he was ready to go. He was just came out loud and proud. So you can't keep a secret when it's out there like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody knew.
Right.
He told everybody.
What about you, Karen? What about your kids?
My kids are doing great but I think it hasn't been an easy journey for them. And I don't think it's an easy journey for many kids going through this. The really young ones just sort of, that's all they know, but often they're older and it puts them in a very difficult position. They often also, they've been lied to as well. They're having to reconcile who the parent really is and what they were led to believe. So they can be very angry and feel really betrayed. And other times they just feel really torn because they've got one parent who's really a mess and the other parent who's like suddenly happier than they've ever been. And and as Donna said, often the closeted partner is very angry and, not coping well when they've been hiding this. They don't show up in the family really well because they've got so much conflict about these sort of two realities. So the kids haven't often had a great experience, and then suddenly they're starting to do better as they come out. And so the kids can feel really torn between the two parents. And, you know, how do you have empathy? And they're also in a different generation, and they can sometimes sort of write it off. Oh, well, it was just different back then. It was hard to come out. So they can sometimes not even have a lot of empathy for the straight spouse parent because they go, well, you know, it makes sense. And it's not their job to have to caretake the parents. Their job is to work it out for themselves.
My kids were totally fine with the gay thing. Like, that wasn't the issue for them. It was the bad relationship and the hypocrisy and the betrayal and the lying and the lack of integrity and all that sort of stuff. When he had, he portrayed himself as a person of integrity and a person of, you know, a good father and a good provider and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Especially if they're teenagers. Teenagers already have kind of like a, you know, they're pretty like, oh, parents, you know, and then suddenly it's just like, oh, wow, they're really bad, you know. So it's
although these days probably not so much because, you know, no family is quite functional really, are they?
Well, it's not, the question is not, is your family dysfunctional? The question is, how dysfunctional is your family?
Yeah, that's right. It's just degrees.
Yes.
But not in the church or in those sort of conservative cultural environments. So, and I mean, sure, I'm talking about church, but there are other cultures that have that conservative approach to family and sexuality that's not necessarily to do with religion.
Yeah, that's true. But for you, Donna, I guess there are so many layers in this. So there's the layer of just the lack of, well, lying to you for so many years about his sexual orientation. But then there's the lying to the people he's preaching to about his sexual orientation.
Yeah.
So the hypocrisy of that as well. Yeah, just layers upon layers.
Yeah. And the fact that he was, you know, high in the leadership of these organisations, he was approved as a leader in these Christian circles, church circles.
Yeah. Did you ever look at it from his perspective and think, what must have been going through his mind? Was he afraid to come out at the beginning? Why did he get married in the beginning?
Oh, I think because his parents shut him down as a teenager, and so he just had to create a straight identity to be approved by his family, to stay in the family and in his organisation in the Navy. Back in the 80s, there weren't even women in the Navy in the 80s.
Yeah.
So,
true.
Ancient times.
Yeah. Are his parents still alive?
No. And in fact, his father dying was a catalyst for the midlife crisis. So, that's a fairly typical scenario as well, because then he's finally free from that authority figure in his life.
The tyranny.
Yeah. Karen, do you see that often in your counselling?
Sometimes they'll wait till parents pass away, or they're discovered beforehand and they enter a time of really deep conflict where they're not ready to come out because there's still that family shame and all that sort of stuff, but the partner's discovered the truth. And then the partners, now they realise they're in the closet and they're not allowed to tell anybody. It's like, you can't tell anybody, you know, I'll kill myself if you tell anybody I'm gay, or, you know, there can be threats, there can be violence, there can be all sorts of things because they've worked so hard to keep this secret and they're not giving it up in a hurry until they're ready to come out. It's a really big difference if they disclose the truth to their partner versus if the partner discovers and they're not ready to come out yet. And that's really, really tricky.
But in your case, Donna, your ex-husband was ready to come out?
Well, thank God. Like I was worried. He did mention that option and what his plan was to keep it all secret for another 5 years. But it seems like he was ready to move on with his life. And even though he didn't want to sell the house and he sort of wanted to keep his job, he decided to make the jump then. So that was a relief for me. Yeah.
I mean, leaving the travel documents out with someone else's name on it, I think he probably wanted to be discovered.
Exactly.
Is that right?
It's an interesting phenomenon, isn't it? How people sort of want to be discovered, but that's because they want you to be the bad guy. They want to be able to blame the person who you found out. You put me out. You know, you pushed me. You left me with no choice.
You went snooping. shouldn't have looked.
Yeah, that sort of scenario. So
do you work with people like Donna who might come to you and are absolutely devastated by what's happened? How do you actually work with them?
Well, that's a big question.
We love a big question here.
It's very complex, and it does depend on, the person's situation, of course. But realistically, the first task is really getting a sense of their own safety, emotional safety and stability, so that they can get grounded enough to be able to kind of like take stock of things and think, what the heck am I going to do? Mm-hmm. Because they're free-falling. It's chaotic. It's tumultuous, and nothing makes any sense, and they're panicking, and they're experiencing extreme stress and extreme trauma. And so we have to get stable enough so that they can find their feet and go, okay, I have to do this and this and this. So that's sort of the first task. And then there's also a lot of mourning and grief work that has to happen, grieving this past and really mourning, because there's no public mourning for this kind of thing. Well, we do the burning the wedding dress sort of ceremonies these days, that kind of thing, right? So, and I think that's because there's often not. And in the case of these sorts of relationships, there's so much disenfranchisement, as in it's like not permitted grief. You're not allowed to be angry at someone for being gay. It's like, well, you're not actually angry at them for being gay. You're angry at them for hiding it from you and using you, not telling you, and often not being very nice over those years. And then you've been led to believe it was your fault and all that sort of stuff. That's the work, is sort of like processing those big angry feelings, that deep betrayal and deception, getting back a sense of self and self-belief, self-confidence, so that they can move forward and build a new life. There you go. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. That's a well-described nutshell.
Your own experience, of course, would help you absolutely understand every part of what they're going through, wouldn't it?
I think of it as like empathy on steroids.
Yeah.
Yes.
On roids.
So, but it's really important for me to be able to separate that as well. So, that's, true. I mean, as therapists, we're trained in how to do that, is to be able to like hold our reality, but center them in the story. So it sort of informs the work 100%, as does the many cases that I've worked with, But yeah, it's definitely informed by my own experience as well.
And do you work with kids of folks that have come out like this and marriage fallen apart?
No, I don't at this stage. I'd love to eventually have a bit of a team around me, like a family therapist, a child therapist and so on, so that I do cross referrals and things like that. I don't work with the children. Look, primarily my focus is the straight partner. It keeps it simpler, because if I start working with a child, then I can't work with the parent. Like it gets messy, but I help them help their kids. So like I help the kid through the parent, because it's really important to help the kids as well.
Donna, do you, looking back, do you think that your kids were well supported through this?
No, not their little circle at, their social circle at church. There's no understanding, really. Divorce is bad enough. In our particular church, there's not many divorced people. And there are no avenues of support apart from their friends who, like you said, every family's got its dysfunction. So for this generation, that's just their form of dysfunction. So I think they had support from their other friends. Yeah, more about, we'll keep you safe. Yeah, because if there's unwanted contact, the big brother keeps the little brother safe, and the little brother's friends said, we'll keep you safe. It was a tricky situation for us.
And what about you? What sort of support did you get from your church family?
I had good friends. We sort of had a bit of a club of friends who were in difficult marriages, trying to help each other over the years. And actually there were a few who got divorced around the same time, so which we had to look after each other, so that was good. And then discovering the Straight Spouse Network through a friend, a Navy friend of my husband's, his best mate in the Navy, had the same story, it turns out. Didn't know any of that until my situation, when his wife rang me and said, we need to have a talk. That was all secret as well. And she put me in touch with the Straight Spouse Network. Yeah. And lots of medication, therapy, recovery.
I think finding other people who have been in a similar situation to yourself is such a validating thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
In any kind of area.
And so how did you get in touch with the Straight Spouse Network? How does one reach out and get in touch?
It's like this secret club. It's actually interesting, isn't it? Because it was never really supposed to be our secret, but there's a lot of women and men going through this who really are fearful of, because their partner might not be out or whatever. So it is quite sort of on the down low in its own way. There is Our Path is a big organisation, charity sort of group that you can just look up. And there's me, of course.
Of course. Not My Closet. Definitely.
Yes.
Great.
I'm actually starting some groups next year as well. So because there is such benefit in healing together.
And there is an Australian Facebook group called The Healing Space, but you wouldn't think of that as being about this particular issue.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Karen, do you do groups online or in person? Does one have to be in Melbourne to see
No, I
you?
work online. I occasionally see people in person, but because I'm so niched, I see people all around the world because it's such a specific issue. I do have some Melbourne clients as well. When I run my groups next year, I'm going to do virtual, but I'll probably also do a Melbourne one because there's something really beautiful about being in the room together.
Definitely.
So, but definitely a lot of online stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think it's a growing problem, or do you think it's becoming a less of a problem now?
I have a graphic on my website that shows this sort of this concept of I think as homophobia is decreasing and divorce stigma is decreasing, this straight spouse dilemma is increasing because more people, it's not that more people are hiding in marriages, but more people are coming out having hidden.
Yeah, wow, okay. And Donna, are you finding that you're being asked to support more and more women in particular in this situation?
Well, through the groups, the online groups and Facebook groups, and through church connections as well. Yep. Even I run a course called Divorce Care through church, and it's people come to that and they don't always share immediately what's led to their divorce, but I'm the expert on this particular issue, and it's come up. And there's all sorts of variations on a theme, like my ex is going out with this woman, but actually we found out it's a lady boy, or the transgender, the transitioning thing situation. Yeah.
That's
so there's variations on a theme. Yeah.
Has your husband ever said he's sorry for what he's done? I'll take that as a no.
He's not that sort of person. And I think he just had to blame me and the kids for the stress in his life. And
okay. Have you ever reached a point where you can kind of forgive him for what he's done? Or is that never going to happen?
Do you know that's an interesting question? I was wondering about why you didn't ask Tracy Hall that question.
Yes, we'll have to get her back and just ask her that one question.
We'll ask you, Donna. You tell us.
That's a very big question. And of course, in theory, I forgive because that's what the Bible says we do and God forgives us. But there's a whole lot more depth to that situation. I mean, it's a moot point, really, if nobody thinks they need forgiving, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can forgive but never forget, can't you? There'd be that scenario where
there's
you actually
we could do an entire podcast on the concept of forgiveness.
We'll have Donna, Karen, and Yuli.
Yes, we'll talk about just about forgiveness.
I'm actually working on a workshop on forgiveness because it's such a big topic.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
And the most important point is that even saying that word forgive in no way diminishes the crime that's been committed against a person.
No,
absolutely.
Or the impact.
No.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. Yeah. Donna, so is your other half still in your life? Does he have anything to do with you or your kids?
No, he doesn't reach out to the kids in any way. And we're quite happy with that because
right. Was that something that you decided or that you both decided together or?
No, he's just never reached out to the kids. I mean, he and I don't have anything to say to each other anymore. So once the business of divorce was over, we went our separate ways. And he's not a safe person to have in my life, or I don't think in my kids' lives. It was a contentious separation. Yeah.
And did you end up burning your wedding dress, or how did you find a way to heal?
Oh, I left all that in the house for him when I moved out because that was his story, the whole wedding, because that was a complete sham as far as I was concerned. So I don't know what he did with all of that, with the wedding photos and I still had my dress in the wardrobe.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what was the thing that helped you to actually move through this, and do you feel as if you have actually healed from this?
Well, I mean, it's a matter of survival in the first instance. I mean, I had low income, my career had been on hold, or I'd only worked part-time and casually. And because when you move around with the Navy, a lot that happens in my particular profession. And so it was a matter of financial survival, looking after my 13-year-old his life was totally disrupted. So I think, and then of course me jumping back into full-time work as best I could. So to me, it's just like head down, bum up, survive.
Right.
And with the support of friends and a bit of psychology support and counselling support and being safe. I think you mentioned that before, like feeling when we finally did get settled in our own home that he didn't know where we lived. We felt safe. He wasn't communicating with us, so we felt safer. Yeah, that's when you can start to feel you can breathe again and start to heal, if that's what you want to call it.
Yes, if you can ever get to that point. Karen, as you speak with so many, particularly women in Donna's situation, what are the most helpful things for helping women get their head around the situation they're in, for feeling safe, as Donna's talking about, and for being able to find a bit of hope and looking into the future again?
Funnily enough, I did a survey of straight spouses once upon a time. The survey showed quite consistent themes, which I found really interesting. And of course, therapy was definitely one of the really key significant things, but so was being able to talk about it and be validated by others. So actually having people care about your experience for as long as you need to talk about it, having a voice. One of the things people really wish for is empathy from their partner, rather than being kind of just blindsided and kind of like ignored and just expected to support them or just be happy for them. But a really big part of it is really being able to process their own internal experience, like manage their feelings of distress and be able to breathe and function and live and be able to tolerate these intensely big feelings until we can ride through them and go, okay, I'm having a sad moment and I can be with myself and I can have compassion for myself and I'm going to be okay. I got through this last time and I can get through this again and I'm not broken. This is something that happened to me, but it doesn't define me. So really getting their own identity back and getting a sense of self and strength and capacity, that they're not just a victim, but they have experienced something really significant, but that it's not the whole totality of their life. It's one chapter. A hellish chapter, but it's part of their story. And often old stuff, being able to kind of like heal. There's often underlying trauma in our lives or, attachment issues from our own childhood, and those things will be exacerbated. So often it requires like longer term, really working on that kind of stuff as well.
It's interesting because like chances are back in the day, like there were a lot of people's parents who one of the partners was gay and just never came out, and there were behavioural issues in that family, but no one ever knew what the problem actually was.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting to think that may have been the case, but we would never know.
No, that's right. It never came out. That's right. But so if anyone listening to this is in this situation or knows somebody who is, what is the best thing for them to do?
Well, look, I think talking to someone who is going to get it and not just give you pat answers is really helpful, because unfortunately people often get a poor response from people. They're just like, oh, well, at least he didn't have an affair with a woman, or, oh, well, at least this, and oh, you've got to be happy for him, he has a right to this, and oh gosh, that must have been so hard for him. All those things are just so re-traumatizing. Reaching out to get support that actually honours your experience without necessarily, we're not talking about vigilantism or anything, is that a word? But yeah, getting empathy and helpful support. So yeah, of course, reach out to me, reach out to Our Path, talk to trusted people who will validate and listen to you and just make space for your reality.
Thank you. And Donna, for you, what's been...
That is the most important thing, people who actually get your situation. And so it might be, it's not just like a garden variety divorce or affair situation. So it has to be someone who understands the special nuances of this situation. Yeah, that's the most important thing.
come up to you subsequently and said, oh, I always thought there was something about him, and how has that affected you?
No, everyone in our circles was completely as blindsided as me about that particular issue. I mean, they all had these issues with him, and he was always reported at professionally, this young man has an anger problem. So, yeah, that everybody agreed on that. No, he's a bit of a jerk sometimes, a bit difficult to work with, but
that's just normal.
Well,
yeah.
But now we know what was internally driving his personality, his angry and controlling personality is what he called it, that we have a personality clash because I can't handle him. He's a strong personality.
Yeah,
strong personality, right?
Yeah, it's a great,
And
the way they spin,
strength.
the way they spin things can sometimes do your head in.
Yes.
Yeah. And just one last question for both of you. Either of you found love again, or do you even want to?
Donna.
Nodding her head, going, no.
My kids keep wanting me to, but I'm married to my work now, actually, I think. So
And also,
it's so meaningful to me. Like, it's just,
I mean, I was 50 at the time, and on the back of 27 years of a very difficult marriage, increasingly difficult marriage, it's taken me 10 years now to actually feel like finally I've got my head above water. And so it's not that I'm close to that idea, but I just haven't been there. I'm not emotionally ready for that, or, you've got to survive and recover.
I think you're speaking about something so important, Donna, that we haven't really addressed, and that is that it takes such a battering to our self-worth, our sense of who we are and our value as women, to be in a marriage where you're not desired. The number of women that I talk to who from the, especially if they're from a faith, they might have waited till the wedding night and suddenly there is no wedding night, or nothing happens, or they're not into it, or maybe they've never even been intimate. Tell you that actually happens sometimes. But it just depletes the sense of self. And so it takes a lot of time to recover from that and to get back a sense of self-value and feeling like you're worthy of another relationship, or that you could trust another person. Like, this is not easy work, and it's not quick work typically. And many women feel sexually violated by having had, no consent to having been intimate with a gay man that they didn't know. That, there's so many layers here that it does take time to heal. And but many women do find love again and have happy lives, and many women have happy, amazing lives without a new relationship. So there is
absolutely. Yes, indeed.
And the stories about relationships where you actually finally do get into a heterosexual relationship and you're like, wow, this is what it was meant to be like. This is what I was anticipating and what never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really lovely story.
Donna.
I love those stories.
Maybe we'll have to come back in a few years and just
we'll have you back and we'll see where things have gone. Well, Donna and Karen, thank you so much for chatting with us today. Look, we really, really appreciate your honesty and your courage and just the love you have for other people who might be in this situation, and for the help and support that you're giving them by just sharing your stories and knowing that Not My Closet is available for you to have chats to people about. And so if people want to actually get in touch with you, Karen, what should they do?
They can just go to my website, notmycloset.com. Pretty easy to remember. Or they can email me, Karen at notmycloset. Sign up for my email list, and then they can just stay in touch with offers that are coming up. I've got groups and workshops and things like that. So
fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Donna and Karen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, ladies. It was, very eye-opening.
Yes.
Thanks
for the opportunity.
Gorgi, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this ep as much as we did.
And why not join us for more insider goss and sneaky peeks on our Facebook group called, strangely enough, She Wasn't Born Yesterday.
So jump on the socials and see you next time, or rather, chat soon.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.